I'm Clarissa Ward. I'm an international correspondent for CBS News based in London, and for the past 3.5 years now, I've spent a lot of time in war zones, and particularly spent a lot of time in Syria, which has become the story perhaps that I'm most well known for, but also probably the story that I feel most passionate about. And a lot of people ask me, why do you continue to go back into Syria? And certainly I don't go back very often anymore. And on the rare occasions when I do, these trips take months and months of planning. A lot of thought and concentration goes into them because it is so dangerous.
He took us to another warehouse where the group stores its ammunition. It was almost entirely empty.
This is it?
Yes.
Yes, he told us. And this is for the whole Free Syrian Army. All they had left were some machine gun bullets and rocket-propelled grenades. Not enough to go into battle with.
He said this wouldn't even last 5 minutes. I forget which editor said this to which correspondent, but allegedly, as the story goes, one editor once warned a young and overzealous and risk-taking correspondent, cannot file if dead. Now, obviously, that's sort of glib, but at the same time, I think the point is a very important one, which is there's no point in doing this work, and there's no point in taking these risks if you're putting your security into jeopardy, because at the end of the day, the story isn't worth anything unless you can come back home and tell it in a proper and compelling way.
There is no threat from us if we don't get hit.
That sounds a lot like something Osama bin Laden once said.
It's the case. We look up to the Sheikh.
You look up to bin Laden?
Of course.
You can understand that that's really hard for Americans to hear.
Why?
Because of 9/11.
We have 9/11s every single day in the Muslim lands.
I always spend so much time planning these trips that I usually am in a place where I feel pretty confident that the security balance is in my favor. Otherwise, I wouldn't be going on that trip. Security is something I take really seriously. And preparing for a story like my trip into Syria, where I sat down with a Dutch and an American jihadi, that's something that takes months and months for a number of reasons. First of all, because you're constantly thinking about how can I go into Syria, how would I cross, who would know I was there, who can protect me, what is the dynamic on the ground. But in a situation like that one specifically, also because you can't go anywhere until you've developed some kind of an agreement or mutual trust with the subjects who you're interviewing.
We don't want you. We want our own laws. We don't want your rules. We want our own rules.
Tell me about those rules. What kind of rules?
We want Islamic law. It's the only solution.
You're speaking for you, though.
No.
What about the millions of Syrian people who don't want to live under Islamic law?
Where are these people then?
But this isn't your country.
We're fighting for our country.
In this situation, obviously, my life was, in a sense, in the hands of the people who I was going to be interviewing. So it took many months of regular contact and conversations to get to a stage where both sides felt comfortable that there was the level of trust there for us both to take the risk, essentially, to sit down with each other in person and do this interview. Because, of course, from their perspective as well, there are risks. I could be carrying some GPS chip that I'm going to try to put into their bag so that somebody can bomb their house. I'll never forget Christian Amanpour once said to me, Clarissa, if you want to do this job for a long time and also have a happy life, it's so important to have friends who have nothing to do with this work, to have family who are there for you, who you can spend time with. It's so important to go to the movies and drink wine and laugh and go dancing and all the things that we take for granted as being just normal, joyful, light, fun parts of life. And sometimes it's easy to get bogged down when you're covering conflict, particularly in the sort of the horrors of war and the very real truths, of course, that are revealed during war. But it's so important to have that contrast, to have that levity and that laughter and that balance. Otherwise, you simply can't do this job for a long time.